going live. And good morning. Hi, I'm Rabbi Brian. It is just 8 o'clock in the morning where I am in just south of Seattle, Washington, because that's where people tend to say, oh, you live in Seattle. I'm like, no, I live in a different state, Portland, Oregon. But people kind of glue the whole Northwest together. Wow, I feel like this has been a really strong start to a service already, so I'm glad. I'm glad you're here. I am joined by a group of people on Facebook and YouTube and even on Twitch. They're the people. People say hi, wave.
Hi.
Hi. And I have deliberately asked them to leave their microphones unmuted so that we can have a conversation. This is a different way of looking at religion and saying that the model of sage on a stage does not work quite well for me. And I learned a lot from 12-step groups that there's a lot of wisdom in the rooms, and that so my job here is to facilitate. I do want to say right off the start something that I taught high school for a lot of years after working as an organized religion rabbi, and once I couldn't do that that didn't fit my soul, and so I taught high school. And one of the things I learned in high schools, in having classes, and I will share it with you, is we're not all gonna like each other all the time. So there might be somebody on the screen, and every time they open their mouth, it's like nails on a chalkboard for you. And and if you come back, there's a line in 12-step groups which is, you might not like all of us, but you'll learn to love us in a very special way, the way we already love you. And so while people here might annoy each other, I think that's fine. This is not a full sunshine spirituality, ya kumbaya club. This is reality. Candace, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Just quickly, there's also a saying in the AA groups that if you like everybody in AA, you're not going to enough meetings.
Thank you. Thank you, Candace. I'm not encouraging us to not like each other, but there are going to be times where somebody on this call, somebody in this group says something that just irks you. And I ask us to go back to one of the things that we've talked about, which is not that it's okay to be mad. You can be mad at somebody, just don't be mean. And it's okay to be angry at someone, but just don't do that when you're upset. And I have a quote here. Where is it? Oh, here it is. If you feel the rush to be angry at somebody, please remember this quote. I have learned to be extremely suspicious of my own reasoning in the moment, especially when that reasoning has an urgency about it. And all of these quotes wind up in the ROTB Clubhouse after the service. So anything that I put up on the screen will wind up there, so if you didn't take note of it right now. But I've learned to be extremely suspicious of my own reasoning in the moment. That part's already brilliant. Let's not believe everything we think.
Yeah.
Certainty means that you're certain, not that you're right. Oh, dang, I'm going to say that again. Certainty means that you're certain, not that you're right. Jane was certain that she knew that the trees outside our house were not prairie crabapple trees. I sent her a picture from the internet of prairie crabapple trees. She was certain, and she was wrong. I'm just taking that.
So you said a certainty again?
Yeah, certainty means that you're certain, not that you're right. This works for ourselves and for other people. Other people are certain about things and we are certain about things, but that doesn't mean that we're right. So let me come back to this quote. I've learned to be extremely suspicious of my own reasoning in the moment. I've learned not to be so certain. But then here's the second half is especially when that reasoning has an urgency about it. Help me out with that second half. What does that second half mean? I've learned to be not so certain, especially when the certainty has an urgency about it. What's that second half add in to you?
Think before you speak.
Think before you speak. I like that.
I've
Connie,
got some.
go ahead, Missy.
I just wanted to speak while the lawnmower wasn't so loud. It reminds me that I get triggered, and it's sometimes a triggering that makes me react so immediately, and that's subconscious and not necessarily right at all.
When we feel an urgency to do something, that might be an extra moment for us to say, slow down. It's really hard. It's really hard to do.
Especially when you're mad.
Especially when you're mad. Connie, are you raising your hand?
No, I'm itching my head.
Okay, sorry. That's old teacher reflex. You see a hand go up, you assume there's a question. All right, so let me move on. I've learned to be extremely suspicious of my own reasoning in the moment, especially when that reasoning has an urgency about it. I want to talk about a lot of things. If you were here last week, there was a lot that went on last week, and I want to talk about some of that. And if you weren't here last week, that means you're not going to be able to follow as well. And I have this goal for this service is that you should be able to show up to this service. It could be your first time, and you should be able to follow along. So I'm at a little bit of a crossroads of wanting to address some things that happened last week and wanting to start afresh every week. So I apologize if it doesn't hit exactly the notes that you were looking for. So let me start with this. Before I get into the stuff that we talked about last week, I want to go back to patience and serenity and gratitude. And I had and I want to hear from you anything that you learned in the last week between last Saturday service and today. Is there something you learned about patience? And if there is, please share it. I'm going to tell a little story about something that I learned about patience. And then we're going to go on a little bit of tangent, and then I promise we'll come back to patience and anything you learned about patience. But so I picked up a tip this last week. I was at Trader Joe's at local market, and I say to the checkout person, I say, Lou says, "Hey, did you find everything you're looking for?" And I say, as I usually do, I found even more than I was looking for. And I said, "Lou, I got a question for you." Lou says, "Yes." I said, "Lou, how do you stay patient?" And Lou says, "Why are you asking? Are you asking for yourself?" I was like, "Yeah." And Lou answers, "I stay patient by complaining to my loved ones about the things that caused me to not have patience so that I can have patience in the face of impatience." So, Lou's great answer was, how do I stay patient? Is I complain about all the things, but you complain about them in the right time, in the right place, to the right person, not in the time that you're feeling impatient. I thought that was a great answer. Lou then says to me, "What's your name?" And I answer that. And Lou says, "I have a question for you." And we're going to continue with that cliffhanger in a moment. And I know it's all about patience, but first I want to hear from other people, because I'm going to go, my cliffhanger is going to bring us to our second topic. What do you got, Al?
Yeah, one of the things I learned about patience is that, there's kind of a mythology that if you're too patient with people, then you aren't going to hold them accountable because you're just going to let everything go past. But I've actually found that the more patient that you are with people, the more you can hold them accountable because you don't feel that need to punish them for not being right immediately.
Yeah,
I don't know if that
there is
makes
some
sense.
idea that we will and I've heard a corollary to that, Al, which is that if I'm kind to everyone, people will take advantage of me.
Right.
Right.
And I have found I get, I don't know what the opposite of taking advantage of. I get more courtesies extended to me the kinder I am.
Mm-hmm.
True.
I'm sure everyone's got that one too. What else did you learn about patience that you can share this week? And then I'll follow up with Luz. Go ahead, Michael.
That there's something definitely underneath it with myself that I just can't let go of.
It's hard to have patience with ourselves.
No,
Help me out.
well, that there's something that's, I guess I'm looking at the cause of my impatience, and it's a deep, and I think it's a deep-seated
Mm,
thing in me. I just can't, I haven't moved through yet.
yeah.
So I guess my response is, in a way, to be more patient with myself in learning how to be less impatient.
Right. That's great. How can I be more patient with the fact that I don't have patience? This is a great question. And there's a similar phrase, which is, can you be comfortable with that which is uncomfortable?
Exactly.
And it's really it's like you got to be able to thread the needle exactly perfectly to have patience where you don't have patience. But I think it's just by hold on, name's coming to me. Werner Erhard. Werner Erhard said something that I think will help, and he said, oh, now that I got his name, I can't remember the quote. He said, I got it now. He said, awareness, or as he said with a hard accent, awareness is in and of itself curative.
Yes.
That the awareness that we don't have patience in the times that we want to have patience will help us to have patience.
Yeah.
The knowledge that we are uncomfortable and we want to be comfortable will help us to get comfortable. Go ahead, Missy.
I was the recipient of some patience this week, and it was a lovely gift from the people that extended it to me. So there was that. And then also, because everyone was patient, we got to experience something that would not have happened otherwise. Someone got to join the group that was having trouble getting on the group, and they were a lovely addition. So it was, having it extended to you is pretty precious.
Wonderful. Go ahead, Diana.
I haven't quite worked this out fully in my head, but it seems to me that.
Oh, shoot. Hold on, Diana.
Okay.
I hit a button.
Oh, no.
There I am. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Diana.
That's right. I think impatience has something to do with expectations.
Okay. Say more.
So, when I'm feeling like, well, get on with it, or we've been over this before, or, it's like I've come with some sort of, maybe even it amounts to an agenda or an expectation of agreement or resonance or something, and it's not being met. And it's like, the frustration shows up as impatience. So it might just be an invitation to check, what are my expectations, and are they reasonable, or can I just make space for something else to be here now?
I love it, Diana. There's this, the Buddhists would say that we get attached to outcome.
Yeah, exactly.
And the better we are at letting the world be and not forcing it. I'm just thinking about what I'm about to say. You already know that. Everyone already knows this. Is letting go of outcome. that the world doesn't have to be exactly how I think it needs to be. And that brings us back to the quote that we had, especially when there's a sense of urgency about it. When the world's not going the way I think it should go right this minute and I need to take action against it, well, that's when we should be really suspicious. So what if, my dear friends, what if we used our sense of urgency to remind us to let go? Next time you find yourself getting worked up, instead of following the worked up towards, I'm going to really tell them, what if we take the worked up and go, wow, I'm really attached to something here? And then let's talk about it next week. I do want to bring me back to Lou. Missy, you have your hand up still? No, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I
then
don't mean to.
Lou says to me, what's your name? And I have a question for you. And I've done this asking customer service people, and I've asked people, how do you find patients? And I love this exercise, and I highly encourage you to try it. Please try it, and then and tell us how it goes. I've never had anyone ask me a question in return, and Lou's question in return was, what's your name, I say. And then Lou says, Brian, here's my question. What can you tell me today that's worthy to celebrate?
Wow.
And so I thought, well, the fact that I now have an introduction for the Saturday service on how to get us to gratitude, that's something to celebrate right now. So here's my question, folks. Last week, I've been enjoying coming up with new ways of getting to gratitude, getting to gratitude, because gratitude is so important in a spiritual life, in all of our lives. So here's the prompt for today. And I would love to hear from people who I haven't heard from yet today. What's worthy to celebrate?
Why?
Do we want to type our answers in, or do you want me to just hold the silence until somebody answers?
Wait a minute. Wait a second.
Go, Emily, go.
What was the question again that Lou
says,
Lou
hey,
asked
Brian, I have a question for you. What can you tell me that's worthy of celebrating?
Today.
What are you celebrating? Do you have an
Well,
answer for Lou, Emily? I'll pass it along, or I'll just take it here.
I gotta think on that one.
Yeah. What's worthy to celebrate? I'd love to hear. I'm gonna take priority on hands I haven't seen yet today. Go ahead, Ray.
Simply, it's actually sort of simple. Let us celebrate you for the goodness that you are. You're here. You're working.
Amen.
You're providing a service. So more than anything else, let us celebrate you.
Are you talking about me? Or are you talking about the
You,
me?
Me,
You.
All of
cashier,
us.
all of us.
Excellent.
That's the thing to celebrate this
Yeah.
day.
Amen.
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 John, what do you got that's worthy of celebration?
I go back to the Mary Oliver instructions for living a life. Pay attention, be astonished, tell about it.
Amen. Amen. Can I get a chorus of amens?
Amen.
Amen. Michael,
Amen.
what's worthy of celebration today? Oh,
Art.
art. That's a great answer.
Okay.
Other Michael who moved his head when I called on the first other Michael. You got something to celebrate?
Just each breath.
Just each breath. Nothing big at all. Just life itself. Let me not make too big of a deal out of that one. I appreciate it. Betsy, you had your hand up, or did I?
Yeah. I was thinking you could tell Lou the amazingness of the enormous leap of going from a total stranger to so heavy, so wonderful a topic.
Yeah. Yeah, just what something worthy of celebrating is human connection.
Yes.
Surprised human connection.
No.
It's amazing to me how we're all so starved for human connection, yet we don't seem to do everything in our power to get it.
It's true.
That's weird. We're weird, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yes, that.
Not you, but the rest of us. I like that little blanket. Just in case I offended anyone, you should feel all right. Paula, do you have an answer there, Betsy Ann? Paula, yes, that was a hand up. I couldn't tell. No. Betsy Ann, what do you got that's worthy of celebration today? And then we will move ourselves along.
Okay, thanks. Well, first of all, I want to say waking up every morning and being able to breathe and just welcoming a new day. But I did want to ask a question about social interaction. Do you think that it's changed since COVID, like our need? Because we've developed the online togetherness, which I'm so grateful for. I can't always be here every Saturday, but when I come, I know I'm welcome. That feels so warm in my heart. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rabbi Brian.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering about our getting back out there, like live with people, in live presence. Is it
I
greater?
think we can do that with even if you're shut in at home. I think we can do live presence even with the customer service representative. It's one of the things that I like about asking, how do you stay patient, is it's off script. It's live. It's real again. And I think we have the opportunity often, but we don't take advantage of it. And we can. And back to something you were just saying, Betsy Ann. I've been thinking about the structure of this group. And the reason it works, one of the reasons it works that you can show up after not having been here for a long time is because of how many people who are here most of the time. Like there's a core number of people who are here regularly. And if you need to take a week off, fantastic. If you can't be here for a month and a half, fantastic. But then when you come back, you feel welcome because you see the same faces. There's something about I don't know what percentage of people we need to be regulars to make that happen, but I can't imagine it's zero. I don't think I could do what I do with 40 new people.
Every time. There's like a nest it creates a nest that we feel welcome to come back to.
There's a pack mentality, there's a group think, there's a something. Okay, wonderful. Michael P., your hand is still up. You got something more?
Oh no, this is we're on to a new, after I forgot the woman who just who made the awareness of still how difficult it is since COVID to be in community in 3 dimensions. I think that's a very serious concern. And being in this form of connection is important. There's no question about it. And I think the aspiration is to be able to bring this more into the 3-dimensional world.
Which we can do.
That's what, yeah.
I'm looking for a quote that I had specifically prepared. Oh, there it is. Here it is. Here's a big topic. Ready, folks?
Yep.
Developmental psychologists Kagan and Leahy, 2001, explain that behind every complaint is a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part I want us to look at. And then it continues to say, inquire into what's behind the complaint and we'll most likely find a commitment to something that matters to us. But the important part here is that behind every complaint is a commitment.
Right, good.
Behind every complaint is a commitment. Somebody says they take you apart and they say, I don't like what you're doing. And they tell you why. And it is this is a skill, like learning the French horn level skill. And the French horn is a really difficult instrument to learn how to play. There's a reason we give kids recorders and guitars and not French horns. This skill of learning to find within every complaint a commitment is really difficult to do. And I'm going to implore you to work on it. Even if you can only make a little, even if you can just, next time somebody tells you something they're complaining, they're going to complain at you about the world, they're going to complain at you about you, they're going to complain at you to you about something. Even if you can just think to yourself, I wonder what the commitment is within this. Even if you can just get to that level, that's already a start. And it's really difficult to do, to hear somebody who's taking you apart and to not respond with this very reactive, no, you're wrong, I'm going to defend myself.
Question is commitment to whom or to what? That's what I'm missing in what you're talking about.
That's what you've got to figure out.
Your commitment right now, Michael, to understanding, your commitment right now to helping me make this clear. You wouldn't have said what you said unless you had a commitment to a larger commitment. Last week, and I really don't want to, but we had such an example. Last week there was a complaint, a criticism offered, but and it was towards me, and I worked really hard, and I contacted this person afterwards, and I said, I want to understand more. And it was really hard in getting their email to look at their email and say, I know they would not have taken the time to write unless they cared. And I'm trying to, on the one side, stay rational and calm and look for their commitment, where on the other side of me, I am furious and I want to be flame on and say, no, you didn't fucking understand what I'm talking about here. But to hold that, and that's the first quote that I had brought up today, that not to respond with anger. There's the Asha quote. To not respond with, there was a sense of urgency of, you just don't understand what I'm doing. But to say instead, I understand that you wouldn't be, there must be love in this, or you wouldn't be saying it to me. If you really didn't want to be involved, you wouldn't show back up. You wouldn't engage me in conversation. This is such a difficult thing to do. There's such a difficult thing to do, is to see that behind every complaint is a commitment.
I find seeing that second sentence, it clarifies that, because I know in the past we've had discussions about that word
Help
commitment.
which second sentence, Anne? I'm sorry.
The one that inquire into what's behind the complaint will most likely find commitment to something that matters to us. It's that part really clarifies what we mean by commitment. So I like seeing that whole quote.
Oh, good. I'm really glad I didn't find the time to edit it. Let me add in one other quote, and then once the screen is completely filled and hard to see, then I'll move on to take some comments. This is a quote from Rilke. First, there's this beautiful image that somebody drew that goes with it, and it says this: perhaps, and if it's a little blurry, I apologize. The quote says, perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act just once with beauty and courage. Perhaps everything that frightens us is, in its deepest essence, something helpless that wants our love.
Nice.
That's beautiful.
That's sweet. Very sweet.
Yeah, it's just really hard to see that dragon as a princess.
Nice article.
Let's take some comments about this idea of behind every complaint is a commitment. Behind every complaint is a commitment, and inquire into what's behind the complaint, and you'll find a commitment to something that matters to us. Go ahead, John, and then Betsy.
I found it fascinating as I listened to you. I realize you're looking at this from a completely different perspective than I am, because I am often seen as the complainer. So this is an invitation for me to look within myself to see what my commitment is. That drives me to complain about stupid spellings or
John, if I may for a moment, and this is like somebody saying, can I offer you a piece of advice? And you're like, well, I don't know what the advice is, so I don't know if I really want it or not. But I have used this idea, behind every complaint is a commitment. And sometimes you will correct my spelling. And you'll say, Rabbi, I think you spelled that word wrong. And I like you, John, so it's easier for me to do it in this case. But I can say, John's only doing it because he has a commitment to language. He has a commitment to helping me be a better me. It doesn't always feel so good on my end of it. But to see that within the complaint, there's a commitment. A commitment to something that matters to me. And what matters to me, I do care about specificity to a point. Yep. After that point, I don't. But you do have a commitment. Go ahead, Betsy Ann, and then Meg.
I wonder about being listened to when people are complaining. Do they, inside them, do they feel like they have not been listened to or not being heard? So they kind of keep this, I'll just call it a negative energy about it until somebody decides to listen to them. And when they're listened to, can the energy of the complaint change?
Yes. But we also all have met people who complain endlessly.
Mm-hmm. Pretty party.
And it doesn't matter how well I hear them, they're going to go and complain to somebody 5 minutes from now.
Right, right. Well, you got to want to get it, though. The complainer has to want to get it.
So, there's a quote in the Talmud, and I just love that there's this idea that's at least, it's almost 2,000 years old, that somebody has said is, are your difficulties dear to you? Is your suffering dear to you? Mm-hmm. Are your complaints important to you? Go ahead, Meg, and then Michael.
Well, I can't help but think that this particular quote really points out that the opposite of love is not hate.
Correct.
The opposite of love is disinterest.
Correct.
How many of you complain to somebody that you don't care about? I mean, I know I don't if I don't care. So I think this is a great quote.
Meg, you're going to jump me back into, and this is, a lot of you know this one.
Oh, right.
Backwards and forwards. This is the idea of love, is that love is a lovosaur. And that the 4 qualities of love, this is the work of Logan Fox, that the first quality of love is this S. And if you've been here a while, you know exactly what this S stands for. It's seeing. You can't love something that's ignored. Silence equals death. Seeing someone's purple hair and saying, oh, look, you have purple hair. Lou was wearing all I said to Lou was, wow, that's quite an amazing necklace you have. I didn't know how else to describe it. But it was meant to be seen, and the first quality of love is seeing someone, and the least friendly thing you can do to someone is to ignore them. Yeah. The worst thing you can do is to ignore someone, make them feel invisible. And complaining about someone, at least you're frickin' seeing them. Yeah, wonderful. Michael, go ahead.
I apologize. Well, maybe it's not. I don't get it. I don't get it. Could you help me understand it with an example, like say in everyday life, people complain about the government, or the politician in federal government.
My beloved Jane complains to me about the state of our house and that the floorboards are cracked and that the house needs a paint job. To me, it's like, as long as Jane doesn't watch this, I'm fine. To me, my first reaction is, shut the fuck up. We live in a beautiful house. What are you looking at the chipped paint for? Why are you looking at the thing that's wrong when 90% of the thing is right?
What's the commitment part then?
The commitment is she wants to live in a place of beauty. She wants to live in a place that feels comfortable. She's committed to a level of cleanliness in the house that, left to my own devices, I would not have. She's committed to the children's safety in a way that my laissez-faire attitude does not promote.
Okay.
A home.
Okay. Thank you.
She's committed to a home. And Michael, please email me your address, and I want to send you a sticker for asking questions when you don't understand.
All right.
Yeah, thank you for asking. It's such an important thing to do, is to know when you don't understand and to ask for help. And that's that. And look, maybe this isn't the thing for everybody. It's all right too. But let me try one more at bat at it. Going back to what Meg said, if the person who's complaining didn't care at all, they wouldn't say anything. So there's a commitment in the complaint. I'm committed to something. Go ahead, Christina, and thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you. Well, I try to use this wisdom in politics, as I'm a local politician, and I have opponents who say really awful things sometimes, and I think I try to understand there is something behind this. There's an issue that is really important for us.
Keep saying.
But maybe they want to solve it this way, and I think that there must be another way that is a better way. So there are different ways of solving a problem, but you need to listen to the problem. So I am thankful for my political opponents for their showing us what is a problem for them.
Thank you, Christina. Yes, what a wonderful way of looking at it. That we agree on the goal, but maybe not on the path to the goal. But how wonderful that we agree, and how disarming it is to agree with someone who's disagreeing with you. To say, yes, let's look at it together of how we agree. Joe, go ahead.
I hear it all and I understand it all. I just know for myself that I have trouble hearing anything but the complaint or the anger or the angst when it's come at me, that it feels like it's hurtful, even if the intention isn't to hurt.
Correct.
But if it comes at me like that, I'm not a real good responder in the moment. Like, I need to process what happened. I would need to think about what did the person say? Why did it come out that harshly? That kind of thing. So I guess I'm an
absolute Joe, please let me go back to, this is one of the hardest ones to do. This is really difficult to be able to do live. And maybe just being able to say behind that complaint there was a commitment, but not knowing what the answer is. And maybe it's 5 days after the fact where you realize there was a commitment in that person's complaint. This is so difficult to do live. And we had a little bit of a little bit last week of being able to not be in, to not to do the no thank you tissue when the heat was on, and to be able to then look later at the commitment within the complaint. This is really hard. I remember when I first heard the phrase behind every commitment is a complaint. And I remember, Michael, I remember the same that you're talking about. I remember thinking, I don't understand what the fuck they're talking about. I don't understand this is you know, the one I taught where we all say you instead of saying I have to undo the dishwasher, I say I get to undo the dishwasher. And that one's pretty easy. It's just a 1-for-1 substitution, and I can teach that to 7th graders, and it works. What we're talking about right here, about being able to take in somebody's complaint and be able to process it as a commitment, and to not to take it with heat and respond with heat back. This is really hard.
Yeah, baby.
This is really hard. But we're also at service number 211. I think we're ready to dip our toe in the deep end. Steve and then Dolly.
I'm thinking about, trying to see what the commitment is, and I also suspect that not all the commitments are healthy or appropriate in a certain kind of way. Like, the commitment could be to my arrogance or my ego. The commitment could be to my prejudices. It could be to a whole variety of things that aren't necessarily positive.
Yeah.
But there is something that I am responding defensively to in the complaint.
Yeah. And trying to get out of the way. And trying this is wonderful. This is again, it's the French horn. You're not going to play the French horn well for the first months. I had Dolly, and then go ahead, Dolly. And then Michael.
So, to me, the patients and these two are so connected. One thing that I did find, because I've been really impatient lately because it's through tax season, and I don't have patience for stupidity during tax season and repeated the same questions, which is my commitment to being impatient. But one thing is, I cut a client off, but I got to go back to them 3 days later. It doesn't make me feel good to be impatient. I hang up that phone call not feeling good about it.
Yeah.
So one thing, I picked up the phone 3 days later and apologized to my client for my curtness and my impatience.
That's beautiful.
Didn't realize the impatience, which opened up a dialogue to figure out what their commitment for asking that question in the first place was.
That's
so sometimes
beautiful.
asking the questions gets to their commitment.
And also good on you for being the big person to apologize for having done something wrong, as opposed to telling them to find a new person to work with. That's hard. That's really hard. Good job. If you send me your address, I'll send you a sticker too if you want a little extra little bonus. Michael, go ahead.
I think I must be going for a sticker myself today. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I never thought I'd feel it. Anyway, but just in response to what Steve said, which was very, interesting, bringing in the opposite of what we're trying to do. Interesting, how do you get unity, because it's getting more and more towards the intention of what this group is, that is religion, or this is morality, or whatever. So I'm coming back to the point of what the object of the commitment is, this aspiration, perhaps that's the word, or God, or G-O-D, the G-O-D word. Maybe that's where you're going. So I just wanted to bring that back, that there's a other reason I don't know where else to go. Let me just stop.
It's okay. It's all right. There's we are talking about a commitment to peace.
Yeah.
We're talking about a commitment to love. We're talking a commitment to patience, a commitment to getting through this life with as little heat and adding as little anger as possible.
Yeah.
And if we use, and thank you, Michael, for bringing in the God word. If we use the word God to talk about that, fine. And if we don't use the word God to talk about that, fine. And that brings me to a point I wanted to make. Last week we were talking about God, and things got tense and heated. And things got tense and heated between people who know each other and love each other. And even so in this group. And I want to underscore and make it clear, it is such a charged topic that could happen, yea, verily, in this group, and yea, verily, among people who love each other, then all the more so how this happens in this topic, and we shouldn't be surprised when this happens when we're using the word God. And that's why I prefer to not use the word and to talk all about the fruits of the Spirit, the gifts of the Spirit, to talk about patience and being slow to anger. And those are the things that to my mind mean we're talking about God. We just might not use the word. Christina, and then I want to get us to our prayer time.
Yes, thank you. I was just thinking that the heated feelings are a sign of that this is really important to a lot of people.
Yeah, on both sides and all
that's
sides.
that's why I think it's good that we talk about it. I mean, I'm not so afraid of heated feelings because I know there's love behind and eager to understand more.
Yes.
So I'm not afraid if we get a little heated sometimes. Let's be that and then rest in it and then take a deep breath and agree that we still love each other. And maybe we have learned something more by seeing things through another person's eyes.
Yeah. And
I like that.
We cannot not learn when we look with empathy and we look through somebody else's eyes. Is how we grow. My friend Maria,
I'm here.
Are you at the ready for some light and love?
I am.
Would you please?
These are the people to whom we are sending light and love. Ken and Joe, Anne, Sheridan H., Greg, Cullen Raphael and her family, Brian G. in spirit, his wife Maria and his family, and Scooter Bear. If there is another person in our community to whom we can offer light and love, please put their name in the chat and I will add them to the list in the clubhouse. And for the people who aren't named, but who are in our thoughts, we send them light and love as well.
Thank you, Maria. And we'll take a minute of time. Oops. I somehow started the clock already. There we go. Take a minute of time. And if you don't know where to look during this time, I suggest you put yourself on gallery view and look at all the faces of all the people.
I can't get it.
So thank you all for the minute. A few announcements. One, I love that you're here. I love doing this. I love having this conversation. I love learning and growing. 2, if you would like to help support this work, please rotb.org and click on the donate tab. If you don't make a monthly contribution already, I encourage you to please do. And those of you who have, of whatever number it is, making a contribution on a regular basis, it is very appreciated. That's how this work goes. Second announcement. God, it is hard to publish a book. I love that I have it. I so wish it were completely done. Jane read it last week, which was, I have been waiting for her to read my book for a long time, and I finally got a text from her last Sunday, and it said, "This is very good." And like a 15-year-old texting with a new romantic interest, I reread her text over and over and over again. I was so glad that she liked what I wrote. Her copy was dog-eared, and at one point I looked at she just wrote BRIAN exclamation point, and I knew exactly what I had done wrong on that page. So I don't want to, I want to share the book with you right now, but I don't want to share it with you until it's right. So I appreciate your patience. It's just taking a little bit longer. Other announcements, if you wanted, I forgot that. Other announcement, here it is. I have it in 2 different ways today. I have it in cursive or in block print. Either which way, it's still true. It's okay not to be okay. Can everyone say that along with me?
It's okay.
It's okay not to be okay. Someone asked me this week, "How are you?" And I responded, "I'm doing all right. The number of good things outweigh the bad, but the bad seem to be stickier and more insistent." It's okay not to be a bucket of sunshine and roses all the time. It's okay to have a hard time. It's okay to ask people for help. It's okay not to be okay. Sermon over. I want to tell a story, and it was related to something that happened last week. And I've heard from a few people, they said, "Brian, I want to be able to do what you were able to do with the no thank you tissue. I want to be able to do that." And I'll tell you this story. It's a story, there's this man who's wandering in India, and the god Vishnu comes in a vision to him and says, "If you go to this particular corner at this particular time, there will be a man who walks by, a wandering mendicant, and you can ask him anything. You can ask him for anything, and he will be delighted to give it to you." Well, the man, not used to hearing voices of the gods, says, "What the heck?" And he shows up on that corner, and he sees on that exact time that coming from far away is a wandering mendicant who's walking with a satchel and a cane, and he says, excuse me, "Yes, what can I help you with?" "Well, you might not believe me." And he says, "Of course I believe you. I'm a wandering mendicant. I believe everything." I don't know. I'm jazzing on the story here a little too far. He says, "You might not believe it, but I was told that I could ask you I could ask you any question. I could ask you for anything." He says, "Well, of course. What is it you would like?" He opens up his bag and he says, "Here are all of the belongings I have." And the man looks in and he sees a diamond the size of an egg. And he says, Could I have that?" And the wandering mendicant says, "Yes, I picked it up in a stream a few days ago. I didn't even know why I was picking it up. Of course, please have it." And the man is just caught in all of his thoughts of his whole life has now changed. He has all the money that he has this giant diamond. The mendicant walks off, and he's all up in his head, and he's up in his thoughts, and then he realizes he's made a terrible mistake. And he runs after the wandering mendicant, and he says, I apologize, but I don't want this diamond. The mendicant takes it back from him and he says, well, what is it instead that you want? And he says, what I want is the ability to not want the diamond. Not really sure always that I understand the moral of that story. But I knew I wanted to share it with you. Okay. I love Missy wherever you are, and we can hear the birds chirping along beautifully. Go ahead. You have your hand up.
I've been trying to mute myself when there was unattractive noise behind me, like a lawnmower. But that story you just told made me think of a comment that I was making in the chat about our commitments, and a Marianne Williamson quote, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? And sometimes I would just rather be right. And that thing about the wanting to not want the diamond, I want to not want to be right over honoring and loving somebody, right?
I think that's perfectly said. It was a little complicated, but absolutely. Let me ask everybody, what's the moral of the story? Not the story of the diamond, but what's the moral of this hour that we've spent together? What is it that you're taking with you? What are you going to be thinking about? I know Michael O is going to be thinking about the commitments and what commitment is within a complaint. I know you're thinking on that. What else are you thinking about? What are you taking with you this week? What are you taking into the week?
Thinking about my complaints.
Thinking about your complaints.
It's about thinking about the hierarchy of values.
Thinking about hierarchy of values. What are you taking with you?
Patience is a virtue.
Patience is a virtue. And I add something to that. And virtues can be learned and practiced.
Those who are silent don't really care, and those who speak out and maybe complain have a commitment to probably maybe sometimes seeing things better.
Thank you, Lisa. Is maybe you're leaving this week with a sense that the people who are complaining might actually care. And they might care more than the people who aren't saying anything. That's wild. That's a whole different way of framing things. I can't wait for next week to find out how this went for everybody. Pamela, you have your hand raised.
Yeah, I was thinking about something, somebody else, maybe you said it, is that people want to be seen. And there can be no intimacy between people, and when people are lonely.
Pamela, I can't help to note that we can't see you right now as you're speaking.
Yeah, I don't want to either.
Okay, well, that's a beautiful point. People want to be seen, and sometimes they don't want to be seen when they want to be seen. Thank you for that. Okay, my beloved friends. Thank you for joining me. Next week, I'll be broadcasting from Los Angeles, where I'm going to be doing a bat mitzvah. It will be exactly the same, but a little bit different. Please come back next week and tell us what you learned about patience. Tell us what you learned about complaints and commitments. I would love to hear back from all of you what you learned in the last week. Let's take a moment, wave to each other, and say goodbye to the people who are watching, and then it's just there is going to be
somewhere.
I
I was waiting for Rabbi to say something, but he did not. So that's okay.
I happened to have left the meeting instead. I hit the wrong button again at the end.
Okay, I have now opened our
Thank you, Alex.
Our breakout rooms. We have the share and care, which is just stay right here. We have a deep dive. We have poetry. We have chit chat. We have politics. We have angry politics that no one uses. And then we have chat with the rabbi room if he actually doesn't log
I'm
himself.
here. I'm working on
Morning, Sari.
Morning, Sari. Good morning, John.
Morning.
I'm doing that thing with my camera again. Shit.
What thing is that?
The thing where I don't know what button I hit. Fuck. Well, I found me.
Well, quick high, well done.
Thanks.
In my opinion today.
I'll take that opinion.
Okay.
There we go.
There he is.
So this is usually, if there's not a new person, this is where I say, oh, hey, gang. I think we're going to rename the group Rabbi's Room, where we ghostwrite the spiritual religious thought column.
Okay.
If you were the one writing the spiritual religious thought column, which you are, what would you have me write and then put my name on?
The quote about complaints, I think.
Yeah, behind every complaint is a commitment.
I love the
would say these after groups are like this idea of the respite after the service.
Yeah, this is the oneg.
The oneg, yeah.
But you got to bring bring your own cookies.
Bring your own cookies.
Well, didn't you used to call it donut hour or something?
They did. You're right. I think that was when Joe was doing it.
I think you have to have the word commitment in one of your bullet points.
Yeah. So this idea of behind every complaint is a commitment.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah.
And the Kafka quote, maybe? No, it didn't seem to go over so well.
If not now, when?
That's good too.
A reminder about the homework is always good.
Oh, what was the homework?
You don't remember the homework you gave us?
I'm not paying that close attention, John. The homework of paying attention, learning about patience.
Right. I'd like to know that when you're done figuring this out before we go, what is the other essay? You did the S. I don't have AUR.
Oh, yeah. Let's do that. Anybody remember what the A and the U and the R are? I can do that. So the first thing is seeing.
Right.
And then you have to accept it, which isn't saying you agree with it. It's just saying, I accept it. I accept it. And accept, and then is understanding is not only do I accept it, but I understand why you did what you did. I might not have chosen the same thing, but I see what you did. I see what you're wearing. I accept that's how you want to dress. I understand why you might do it. And then finally there's a response.
By yourself?
It's some kind of response that all the rest of this can be done up in one's head. But it's not really love unless I let you know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for asking, Michael.
Thank you.
Yeah, you got your sticker, Michael.
Did I get it?
You got to send me your address. If you send me your
Dolly. I was like,
Michael, it was a long, long time ago. I remember in a service very towards the beginning was you asked a question when you didn't understand what was going on, and it really helped the whole group to see how important it was to ask. And then we just had that from the other Michael too today. It's just what a maybe that's the second point is
intention.
When you don't understand, try asking.
Yeah,
Asking
and clarifying
questions,
intentionality. You know, that I think that's what Steve was trying to get at this morning. You know, because it's so easy to go to the opposite. It's so easy to split. You know. Okay.
I love that. I love it. So I think that's my second point is when you don't understand the other person's meaning, when you don't understand the other person's reasoning, try asking. So stupid, but.
Right.
It can go well. John, I also wanted to say in this small little group, when Candace was talking, I saw you laughing, and I knew you were laughing for the same reason that I was laughing. Was she was talking about wanting to be seen?
Yes.
And I saw you, and I was trying to stay with a little bit of professional, but that was ripe. Good. Okay.
Great. I
There's
request
Pamela. Hi, Pamela.
Yes, hi. I don't know if you were talking about my response.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to say is that I feel like I've been disabled most of my life, and being seen is not the physical seeing.
Correct. It's being heard, being acknowledged.
Right.
Yes.
And it's so easy to predetermine who someone is, either by their height or that they're dressed in, luxurious clothing or driving a gorgeous car or whatever. But you might not really see who they are.
I love that. I am trying to find a thing. Yeah, it's seeing someone for their essence, not seeing their superficiality.
Exactly.
Right. Oh, thank you so much for adding that in. And look, I'm already that gives me 5 minutes worth of next week already. Good. Okay. I'm gonna take my little absence of this room. I'm gonna leave the rest of you to stay because there's no you don't need me here. You got all. Thank you. I'm gonna write this stuff up and get on with my beautiful day. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you,
Brian.
Find Zoom on that list, click it, and click force quit. It'll log you out. Then you may have to force quit other applications, shut down your computer, restart it, and then come back.
I'm on the list. Force quit on Zoom. Well, Zoom doesn't want me to.